Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Big night on Underdog on Monday night. If you follow it along with the show on Monday or use the Sharp Stack tool, 4for4.com/Mayo to get yourself that free week trial with code Mayo50. Fellas, my computer completely fixed. As a 40-year-old man, I figured I didn't have the strength anymore to break a screen with a pen, but here we are. We're good to go. We're back for week number 12. Trade deadline's coming up. We got some waiver wire stuff to do. Let me start with that. How long do you guys think that Josh Jacobs is going to be out? Because we're not going to know before people place their bids for waivers this upcoming week. Like, how much would you spend on Emmanuel Wilson, Jake?
If I'm a Jacobs person and I'm thin at running back, I'd probably go as mostly as aggressive as you think it takes to win. Like if that means the rest of your fab and you only have like 20 something bucks left, that's fine. To answer your first part of the question, I think it's probably 2 weeks at worst. It sounds like it's going to be at least one, but it really depends on. I think if you look at the Packers, that's the issue. The Packers have 3 straight division games coming up. And like, do they lose this week without Wilson? Do they win it? And it's kind of like how many you keep in the bag of like being able to play and wait on Jacobs. So I think that's a factor too. That's why I'm just estimating it feels like about 2. And that's why I would say if you have Jacobs, you kind of have to be more aggressive. But if you're not, I would just kind of take darts. I would shoot at like Jacobs, Kenneth Gainwell, and all the rest of the running backs out there and not be as aggressive.
Yeah, Ian, of the injured running backs right now that we don't know if they're playing or not, it's like Jaylen Warren and Josh Jacobs would be the big two. Like, which one would you try to go actively target as a backup if you needed someone to play? Like, because there's always the injury situation too, where they can say no structural damage with Jacobs. Jaylen Warren can be like, oh yeah, like it's not that big of a deal. I could have went back in the game, and then we get like 4 days from now, it's like, oh, he's out for the season. That happens all the time.
Yeah, it seems like with the Warren one in particular, because he did go back in the game for 1 rep, people are almost less concerned about it. But no, we see this all the time with Aaron Jones. That happened earlier this year where they kind of have that, just momentum going in the game, obviously adrenaline flowing through. So I think, that banged up ankle doesn't hurt as bad on Sunday as it probably does Monday morning. So again, just based on what we've heard, it doesn't seem like either is going to be a super long-term issue, but we got 3 weeks between us and the playoffs right now. These are must-win games. So to Jake's point, if you are dealing with $20, $30 left or whatever, I think that's a fine enough amount to go ahead and just blow and get one of these guys if necessary. So again, depends on the roster, obviously, but I do think it's a situation where must-win games happening. Go get, obviously, both guys if you can.
Would you spend more on Yoshivas or these guys?
Oh, these guys, I think. Yeah, that's just one week. And it's Yoshivas.
But to Ian's point, yeah, it's you have to win this week. Like obviously Yoshivas doesn't help you in week 16 unless an injury were to happen, but you do need to win this week. So if the point being is if you're going to pick up Wilson, just put him on your bench because you want to block everybody else. But you need to plug in Yoshivas as your wide receiver 3 because he would be at least a wide receiver 3 this week. Then you plug in Yoshivas. So like it really comes down to what do you need because we're not looking to win week 16. You got to get there. We got to win now.
I think people always forget that, Ian, that you have to make the playoffs to win in the playoffs.
That's been this whole thing with some of the rookie fever that I think you were just a scholar and you managed to be just fine. Now you're reaping the Travion Henderson rewards without having a crashed out team first. But yeah, winning in weeks 15 plus is cool, but wins also count the same in September.
Well, just in your experience, like Jake, we've been doing fantasy now for like 25 years. You too, like it's once you get to the playoffs, it feels like all bets are off. Like the hard part is getting there.
Yeah.
Like, the worst team can win in the playoffs.
Every single time. I mean, how many times have you watched your own league where the number 1 seed gets immediately knocked out or, the 6th team goes on this run? And it happens all the time. Like a few years ago, it was when Lamar Jackson was banged up and then finished the season with like 2 really bad games and that team in my league just fell apart and it was the number 1 team. Happens all the time. You just have to get in. But to Ian's point, this is exactly what I saw coming. I knew that D'Amico Ryans was going to be like, no, rookies are not rookies until week 11. So we knew Jaden Higgins and Woody Marks weren't factors until now. No, we need to win now and stop trying to predict what's going to happen in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I remember the great Liddell Betts run, Ian, of I want to say,
oh my gosh,
2008 maybe. It's just like, oh yeah, Washington has a backup running back in it. It's Liddell Betts. Like, I had to pick him up and play him. I had no one left. And I think he was like, even last year, like, what did Zamir White score in the fantasy playoff? Or was it Abdullah or Zamir White? It was Abdullah last
both
year.
of them.
That just went off in the playoffs.
It was Zamir 2 years ago. This last year, Amir Abdullah was the RB8 and Tajay Spears was the RB5. Again, it's a 3-week sample size. Crazy stuff's going to happen.
So yeah,
but you said it, Pat. We've been doing it forever. Go back. I had Billy Volek on one of my first championships.
Billy Volek.
Yeah.
The Billy Volek Drew Bennett run, that 4-week stretch was probably the best fantasy stretch of all time.
Rashad Perryman with Jameis in those like Tampa Bay days.
Right.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
Special.
That would be an article for you to do at the end of the season, Jake. And I know you're always looking for like new ins, like the best.
Oh no, that'll be my top 10 list.
Yeah, that'll be your top 10 most random like fantasy contributors that anyone could have had for free ever. Arlen Harris, 3 touchdowns for the Rams in 2004. That's another one.
Oh, this is I'm so doing this 100%. I might just do it this year right before the fantasy playoffs. That's my top 10 list.
That'd be amazing if you end up doing everything for that. I'm stepping on my cord. That's what's going on here. Why is my mic turning around on me? Yeah.
Don't break your mic. You just stop breaking things, Pat.
There's a lot going on. We got some new lights. I got a new computer screen. We're all good. Let's get to the running back rankings. Ian has provided his running back rankings for week number 12. You can find the link in the description to get his right now over at fantasylife.com. Mine will come out on 4 for 4 and in my free newsletter, all completely free, Wednesday afternoon. And Jake's will be out in about 13 hours or so, midnight Eastern on Tuesday at theathletic.com. The links to find all of those are down in the description and will be in the comment section after the fact. If you're here, smash the like, and you need to be subbed in order to ask a question. We are going an hour earlier than normal. We'll return to normal time as of next week. But Ian, at the very top of your rankings, CMC. No big surprise on that one. Gibbs, Taylor, Bijan, Henry. That's the top 5. Now, is this Henry ranking because he's playing the Jets? Because Henry is like the king of being the running back 11 for the week this year.
Certainly helps matters, but how about that performance last week? Everyone was saying, oh, the big bad Cleveland Browns shut down Derrick Henry back in week 3 or whatever it was, 100+ yards and a touchdown for good measure. So, we got to worry about the vulture that is Mark Andrews apparently now on the ground as well, but it's a great stretch for Henry. He gets the Jets and then the Bengals twice in the next 4 weeks. I think there's one Steelers matchup in there as well, but winter is coming, guys, and I think we're going to see, some defenses really already starting to look ahead to Cabo and not wanting to tackle Mr. Derrick Henry. So I could get going with Travion Henderson or Chase Brown because of what they bring me as a pass catcher ahead of Henry. But either way, guys, like ranking them lower than 7 or 8 this week, can't be me.
Yeah, December is almost upon us like it comes every year. People always forget every single year. Although against the Browns, Jake, it was 2 runs was his entire fantasy day. He broke off like the 56-yarder, and he finally got the touchdown plunge. Every other carry was terrible.
I think the touchdown plunge is the more interesting thing. This Derrick Henry, that's what he does, is he can break off those big runs because he can just shake tackles and everything like that. But he's actually been more inefficient than most years throughout his career at plunging in, at getting those in. And it's funny because I was watching the game with my buddy and I was like, is it just me or does Derrick Henry feel smaller this year? Just like watching this entire season. And I wonder if he got a little bit more svelte to try and like keep his career longer because, you don't want that pounds on at the end of your career. But anyway, whatever it is, just speculatory. You're right. Is that that's the area where if he doesn't get that touchdown, it's still a good day. But like he's been struggling to plunge those in.
Ian, I believe what Jake is saying is that he stopped doing squats and started going to a CrossFit gym.
I got my squats in yesterday. 225, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, that's crappy. I so rarely do leg day. Just can't do it.
Oh, yes.
Come on.
I do leg day, but I don't do those because you would hear my knees screaming from here. Pat,
I caught for 16 years, so my legs are abnormally large to begin with. So I'm just like, no, I don't need them to be any bigger. I'll look like just like to have the frame of someone. You're like, well, why are those guys' legs just popping out? It
looks like you're always wearing cargo pants.
Yeah, like it's just I got the look. It's okay. I'll just go with the look that I got going on right now. I'll try to stick with like filling out the rest of my upper body and midsection to match the legs rather. And I can't walk afterwards, Ian. It's so terrible.
It's like a good pain though when you're limping around a couple days after. I always think it's the day after, like the day after you lifted, that really is the worst. But Pat, the worst thing too, I'm sure you actually caught back. I used to catch as well when we actually still had to do it the real way. Now I watch games and they're already on one knee all the time out there. So maybe catchers these days don't exactly have the same problems there, but I do feel for those knees.
Yeah, it was just a lot of body weight squats growing up with catching the entire time. And I run 5 days a week. So if you start mixing like heavy leg days, like I'm not going to be able to run anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
So there's that part of it too. And the running does help out the legs. Let's not forget. And the Stairmaster. Oh, good for your glutes. Trevion Henderson is at number 6. It's obviously a great matchup spot, but for all like the smoke being blown up his ass right now, it was a very good game against Tampa 2 weeks ago. Yes, he scored 3 touchdowns on Thursday night against the Jets. He didn't look like super impressive against the Jets, however.
He looked good.
We do this for every running back, take away their touchdowns and their good plays and like what we really have here. He was good. He's getting a full featured 3-down role as long as Ramondre Stevenson is out with this schedule too, guys. I mean, he's an RB1.
How long do you think Ramondre is going to be out, Jake?
I have no idea at this point, but I will say to your point, like I agree with both of you, is that like Trevion Henderson is a top 10 play every single week until Stevenson's back. Maybe it's this week, maybe it's next week, but that's why, trade deadlines are mostly this week and potentially next week. You might have had yours just pass. It's like right around now, right before Thanksgiving usually. But point being, I agree with you in the fact that I would at least see what people are going to offer or come back with, because right now the excitement is through the roof. So if you can get Trevion Henderson top 5 running back value in a trade return immediately, because whether or not Stevenson comes back, he will at some point, and Stevenson will get mixed in. He's not taking the lead back from Henderson, but would it shock anybody if Vrabel just is like, 50-50, yay, Stevenson, just love this guy? That's the risk. Of course, he can continue this value, but where's he going to go up from here? He's top 5 right now. So if you can get that, I would absolutely like field offers.
Ian, if Henderson was declared back in this week, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, how far down do you think you would rank Henderson? Would he drop back into that, like right around where you have Emmanuel Wilson right now at 18?
That's kind of what I was looking at. Wilson's RB 18, Aaron Jones 19, Swift is 20, winnable enough matchup at home against the Steelers. Past that, I think I'd struggle to rank them much lower. That comes down to the Bengals matchup here. I mean, the difference between the Bengals and then the 31st ranked defense in terms of fantasy points allowed to running backs is the difference between like the 31st ranked defense. I think it's the 12th ranked defense. So it really is just like amazing how bad the Bengals are. And they're getting even more banged up. They just lost Cam Taylor-Britt for the season. Trey Hendrickson's still not coming back anytime soon. They've traded Logan Wilson and the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago. So again, just the absolute nut matchup here for Trevion. But in future weeks, I could see it being more 50-50. God forbid, even leaning more towards Stevenson. So I do agree with Jake's sentiment that if you got someone, again, really just drinking the Trevion Kool-Aid right now, I could totally get parting ways.
In the chat, someone asked about Chase Brown at number 7. Is that a matchup-based thing? Is it a volume-based thing? Because it's a tougher matchup against New England, but especially if Jamar Chase is out. Like it felt like Chase Brown hit his floor last week with he had the opening 2 catches. He had 6 catches overall in the game. Like he could be back up to like 15 targets in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going that far. I'll let Ian, because this is his ranks. I chuckled in the background because that's actually the name I was going to throw out just to say, because you usually ask where I would pick apart. And I'm not going crazy, but I would like, just because of this matchup. I mean, look what the Patriots have done. They have stomped everybody in the backfield that since basically Achane scored earlier this year. And I think that was week 2 when they played the Dolphins. But point being is they're limiting everybody, and they've faced Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson and others. So like, I'm not knocking him out of RB1 territory, but he would be my last RB1 right behind Kyron Williams, which was interesting to see. They were rotating drives with Blake Corum the past 2 weeks. And then when Blake Corum got stuffed on first, second, third down, and then Kyron got the touchdown, he barely touched the ball for the rest of the game. And I think Sean McVay was like, oh, well, I tried. This is over. So that's why I would trust Kyron Williams 1 spot in front of Chase Brown. I'm moving him down 5 spots. I'm not crushing the guy. But just because of that matchup, I actually do agree. Who'd you say, Mr. Nice Guy? He's a follower of ours, Pat. He's been around for years.
Great.
You, Mr. Nice Guy.
Well, he has a question for you, Jake, since you're such a big fan. So shout out to you. Thanks for smashing the like and someone to the channel to ask these questions, Mr. Nice Guy. He says he lost Drake London and Josh Jacobs. I was going to say Jacoby Myers. Who cares if you lose him? Josh Jacobs. Should he drop Algier for Emmanuel Wilson? Is it too early to call, or do you just play Algier?
I mean, If you have Jacobs, you would, but I'd rather drop somebody else than Algier.
Yeah, but do it if you have to. I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
Algier isn't someone we can exactly trust. Emmanuel Wilson, now that you already have Jacobs on your team, like you're cementing yourself with the Packers RB1. And the thing with Wilson, like we were hopeful that he would be that next man up, but we got full like validation of that. I think he played north of 90% of the snaps after Jacobs was out of the picture. So again, I got Wilson RB18. I just think it's a situation where the Vikings defense, I think is capable enough to slow down this Packers unit. But I wouldn't be surprised if this time next week we're even getting them back into the top 12. So it's a good role. Marshawn Lloyd still no real, threat to be found at this point. So no, I'd be fine with that.
Chris Brooks would be the pass catching back. Like if somehow that game goes awry for Green Bay, then all of a sudden I could see Minnesota brings a ton of blitz. They blitz. They get pressure without blitzing. That if it becomes a game where they need pass blocking and quick dumps out of the backfield, I could see Chris Brooks sneaking in. But I do agree with Ian Jake that it's going to be a lot of Emmanuel Wilson, at least at the beginning of the game, and if they have a lead, which is valuable. That's when you would want to play him.
100% agree, and agree with what you were just about. I was going to bring up the Chris Brooks thing. I did Chris Harris's podcast, and he was like, I would think Emmanuel Wilson's a lot like Chris Rodriguez, which I agree. Like, that's a great comparison. So pretend Chris Rodriguez is on the Packers. So you can go both ways with it. There's the excitement you should have. For everybody that's excited about Chris Rodriguez leading the Commanders backfield, please. But pretend he's on the Packers now as the lead. That's your excitement, but it is capped at a level because neither of those guys are real good pass catchers and neither of them are too shifty in space. So that's where you would get Chris Brooks sprinkled in. But again, you brought up the point, like this is if this game somehow goes sideways and all of a sudden the Vikings are leading in this one. So I wouldn't be overly concerned, but enough of that. This is going to keep them in that kind of RB2 range.
Chris Brooks played 5 total snaps last week. What are we worried about here? Come on, this is not Chris Rodriguez situation.
It's an in-game replacement.
Running back Emmanuel Wilson situation.
It's an in-game replacement that they were winning, where they're fine.
I disagree. Emmanuel Wilson to the moon.
Okay. I was going to say Chris Brooks over when they release like Chris Brooks over like 8.5 receiving yards. I will play the over on that.
Oh, I would too.
Be his first catch in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs has been playing. When Jacobs was banged up earlier on in the year, we did see more Chris Brooks, and they love him on 3rd and long. So if you expect there to be 3rd and longs, I would like to see the amount of like the snap distribution on anything like 3rd and 8 and beyond of Green Bay running back snap share this year, because it feels like Chris Brooks is always in the game for those. And if you just think that Green Bay is going to roll Minnesota, then there's no conversation to be had. It's just I could see it taking away from Wilson's bottom line. I would have him ranked the same or even higher than where you have him, Ian, because I think that the potential upside in a good game script here is to the moon, like you said. Although I would push back on Jake about Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown's good where he is, because I wouldn't play... I think Dallas's run defense did get a lot better, honestly, and they don't like throwing to Barkley. James Cook has a horrendous matchup, and they did finally use him in the 4th quarter through the air, but I don't have high hopes that he's just going to be a pass-catching back. Like, I would still play him above both those guys. Maybe I go Kyron, just bump Kyron up, because I'm with you on Kyron. Maybe even Judkins, because Vegas isn't stopping anyone on the ground, and I'm pretty sure that the only play the Browns are going to run this week is run, because I don't think they want to pass anymore.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, too, for me was that I would go Dowdle and Javonte. I would go Dowdle and both Williams before Chase Brown, so maybe it's a more of a shuffling. But the point is, like, you said this for how many years are we doing this, Pat? You said it, like, before, like, even Ian pushes back on us, pushing back on his ranks. Who really cares? Like, if you have any of these guys, you're starting them. Like, it's just kind of like, this is more of a DFS talk of anything.
Genty could be way too high in. Like, Genty is like borderline playable right now.
That was a rough Monday night performance. I can't believe how many passes this dude is dropping at this point. It's almost like he's got the yips. I know his last year at Boise, they were kind of chasing the Barry Sanders rushing record, but like one of the stats I kept falling back on throughout the process was, I think it's literally CMC, Gibbs, and it was 2023 Ashton Genty as the only running backs to average like 3+ yards per route run over the past decade. So that was.
Oh, Ian's gone. He got launched, Jake.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, he fell. His internet stopped and he fell out of the room. So now everything's all messed up.
Well,
we'll go to the wide shot. That should probably help out a little bit here as we go through everything.
I do have your answer, by the way.
Hit me.
So, there's only been this is insane to think about. For the entire year for the Packers, there's only been 5 running back touches, which I guess, of course, they're not turning to their running backs, but 5 running back touches on 3rd down and 8 or more the entire year. 3 to Jacobs, 2 to Chris Brooks, 0 to Emmanuel Wilson.
Okay, so we do think that Brooks would end up being the pass catching back if the script flips in this game, which by the spread, they're saying that it's not going to flip, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's run through some of the rest of Ian's rankings here for a second. He does have Genty at 13, Judkins, Jalen Warren, Jake. If Warren doesn't go against Chicago, where would you put Gainwell? Would he be a top 20 guy for you? Like, would you play him above Aaron Jones? Because I would.
Ooh, I wouldn't. I think I'd still go Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift. Woody Marks gets the Bills, and I'm assuming
that should be good, but there's a chance like the Texans offense is like they couldn't do anything against Tennessee, man.
No, I agree with you. Like, that's where the hesitancy. That's why, like, if you didn't hear that, it should. And the good news is, as bad as that game was for Woody Marks, is that the joke I made earlier, like DeMeco Ryans at least was 100% telling the truth, that Jaden Higgins and Woody Marks are no longer, in his mind, rookies anymore, in quotes. And it was all Woody Marks. I mean, essentially 80%. It was his biggest workload and RB touch percentage of the year, where Nick Chubb's a non-factor. So the matchup and the workload is there. So that's where I'm going with this, is that I trust that workload more than Gainwell. I do think if you looked at it when they actually, so Warren tried to come back, as we talked about, and then he left the game and never returned. From that point on, Caleb Johnson was 40% of the touches. It was a 60-40 split. And I'm not deathly afraid of Caleb Johnson, but I'm afraid enough that I'm going to take the workload of Woody Marks and Kareem Hunt. That's where I would stop. I would definitely still play him Gainwell over Kamara. I mean, because Kamara and that offense is just blah. But I would probably stop right there at 22.
I guess I would push back on that front only with that game started getting out of hand for the Steelers, that maybe that's a nice spot to put in. Listen, I think Caleb Johnson's going to be used. I think it would probably end up being more of like a 65-35 in favor of Gainwell. And then knowing that he's more than likely their goal line back and he's most definitely their pass catching back between those two guys would be the way that I would flip it. So, but that's right around the area here. Breece Hall, Tyrod starting. Remember when you guys told me the Fields couldn't get benched? That was wrong. Because he's terrible.
Definitely. Although, hey, I will say, Pat, the trades for the Jets and like their organization as a whole, since we made that joke that said, hey, why don't I put my fandom with the Jets and see if the curses can offset each other? Like, maybe it's happening. Maybe that, 5 first and second round picks over the next 2 years. I'm going to fix it for Tim. We're fixing the Jets.
That's not bad. Listen, when they trade all 5 of those picks for Joe Burrow in the offseason, we'll see what happens.
I don't know, but no, that makes too much sense, Pat. Like, you got to do like all 5 picks for like Daniel Jones.
Yeah, for Kyler Murray.
Yeah. There you go.
Where do you think Kyler Murray is more likely to start next year? The Jets or the Dolphins? Or maybe the Panthers?
Oh.
Shortest QB room ever. That'd be fun. I can get behind that.
I feel like he would be good on that. He would make the Panthers so much better. Like, he's not.
He did have a hell of a Sunday. To be fair, that was sweet.
Yeah, like that offense has already been designed for what you need with a quarterback of that ilk, is somebody who can manipulate the pocket to be able to see through the lanes better than over the top. Like, I forget who said it, but like, there's rarely a quarterback who clearly sees all over the offensive line. These are 6'6" to 6'8" guys. How many quarterbacks are 7 feet tall? 0. Like, seeing over the offensive line is kind of a misnomer, but you do have to, when you're that short, manipulate the pocket to see through lanes a lot more. So all point being, Pat, to what you're saying is like where that offense could actually work. It's already been designed for Bryce Young. Kyler does it better. Like, I actually think that would make a lot of sense.
2 questions, and then we'll get to the rest of the rankings here. Well, one is the MacBook still on IR? It is not. It is completely. I got it back there. I got it back later that next day, which is nice. And now it's not all smudgy anymore. Maybe that's the thing. Just break your screen so you don't have to clean it. Get a new screen, and everything just looks so much more vibrant in terms of colorization. But someone's
forget the Windex. Just break your screen.
Break your screen. Get a new one. How do you feel about the Tootin ETN split, Ian? Because Tootin did get banged up in that game, so we're not even sure if he's playing or not this week.
Yeah, he said afterwards that his ankle was feeling okay, so it doesn't seem like it's a major injury. He was also doing like media in front of his locker. Typically, that doesn't happen if the guy's dealing with something too serious. But I will say, despite Tootin actually having the touch advantage early on before he was injured, we didn't see that actually playing out the same way in terms of routes or snaps. So I think it was a little fluky in terms of Tootin actually being the lead back for that stretch. Now, could it be more of a 60-40, split moving forward? That could be the case, but the guy who actually was seeing their workload curtailed was the Quint Allen Jr. So we've seen this go up and down a little bit throughout the year. To Tootin's credit, I mean, he was running hard out there, and he's actually the third best running back this season in percentage of carries to gain at least 3 yards after contact. So maybe that good play has earned him more work. I don't think there's a takeover coming because Travis Etienne, to his credit, has also still been pretty good this year. But Tootin is on that short list, man, alongside guys like Tyler Algier, Blake Corman, Brian Robinson as the best handcuffs in fantasy football. So again, I'm skeptical we get more than maybe a usable flex week here or there out of Tootin. I still think it's Etienne's job. Great contingent handcuff upside, though.
Albert D says his team sucks, 12-team league. He has Rico, Henderson, Bucky, and Benson. We might get Bucky and Benson back this week. We may not. We do not know as at this point in
Benson
time.
alive?
Who
Have
knows?
you heard anything from that dude?
Yeah, he did. They killed him off like 8 weeks ago. Just didn't tell anyone. Yeah, that's why he's not back. But his receivers are A.J. Brown, Marvin Harrison, and DK Metcalf. So he does need an upgrade. He has a bunch of like high-end wide receiver threes basically on his team. For me, the most logical upgrade here, Jake, is if people would give you value for Bucky, that's probably where I'd go. But right now it'd be like Henderson for Pickens. Like Pickens should be probably treated as a top 10 wide receiver. And you could probably get more than just Pickens for him too. You could probably get a running back.
So I'd say I don't think Higgins is a top 10. And I would take Higgins barely over Pickens. So top 15. I mean, we're splitting hairs there. But point being, that goes back to what I was saying about Henderson. If you can flip Henderson right now for anybody as a fringe wide receiver one, then yeah, that's where you get your help. Like, I know you are actually technically buying high, but like I said this on the podcast, my quick run is like, if you could do a Jameson Williams and a Swift kind of combination for Henderson, there's crazy people out there. And that's because the perception is through the roof. People are right now, some of these trades, we should go to that Yahoo one that we always pull up. I wouldn't be surprised if people are treating them like Gibbs right now.
They're not, because there's just a bunch of like weird trades. It must be like deadline keeper trades that are coming, because like Trevian Henderson for Chuba Hubbard. Like there's more to that, I would feel like.
Oh, that's somebody. That's collusion.
Well, it's collusion, or there's like actually, because like in our league, we don't run it through Yahoo in terms of our keeper. We do that offline. So like that's a trade that could happen in my league, but it would be like Henderson for Chuba Hubbard and a first round pick next year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So it's hard to gauge when you see some of these things. The only like run out that I would say is that I guess it's not so bad, but Higgins versus Pickens in the sense, Ian, that the Bengals in the fantasy playoffs do have the Ravens. They have the Ravens twice still on the docket. The Bills' pass D is actually pretty good. Their run D is awful. Then Dolphins and Cardinals in the championship round. They fade the Browns in the very final week, whereas the Cowboys have one pretty tough. I guess they have the tough matchup this week against the Eagles. Then they go Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, Commanders. Like the Vikings are the only like reasonably good pass defense of that group.
I mean, with Higgins and Pickens, this was hopefully the allure of drafting Pickens this year. We thought he could kind of be the NFC version of T. Higgins, and that's really come to fruition. And so I don't worry about the matchups that much of those guys. I mean, even the Ravens ones honestly have been a bit tougher here over the last 5-6 weeks. So I think they're both top 15, maybe even top 12, depending on the matchup. The rest of the way, and I'd be happy to have them. I would say in addition to Henderson, though, I do like what you're saying about maybe trying to see what you can get from Bucky Irving. Just the way they've been so cautious with that shoulder injury, basically saying like, is he ready for contact? I don't know. It doesn't sound like they're exactly going to be lining up to give this dude 25 touches, especially with how good Sean Tucker just looked. And obviously Rashad White has his history there as well. So if we do want to also play the game of, hey, well, okay, you take away that one good play, what do you have? Bucky was not exactly crushing it during the first 4 weeks of the year. I know Tristan Wirfs was banged up and everything, but man, really did see that yards per carry crater, 5.4 as a rookie, just 3.3 during the first month of the year. And again, I don't like taking away the good plays, but he basically had this like 70-yard touchdown on kind of this broken coverage, Baker scrambling around. If you take that away, guys, not nearly as impressive. So I'm not going to do that, but a lesser man could.
Would you trade George Pickens and Tyrone Tracy for Judkins and Zay Flowers? I actually wouldn't. I think Pickens is more valuable than all those guys.
Pickens best part of the trade. Yep.
Pickens and Tracy for Judkins and Flowers.
Yeah, like Judkins and Flowers is the better combo because Tracy's useless.
I know, but if you're starting Tracy, I would, because I would want to get Tracy out of my lineup.
That's fair.
What's
Or
Judkins done?
Judkins is good, but like he's very quietly like running back. Even I mean, he's probably better in standard leagues because he does not catch passes.
He's good, obviously, but it's the same thing as Genty at this point. Their
Yeah.
offensive line is dead last in terms of.
Oh, he's actually been better than Genty. He's been better than Genty is the thing. So the point being is like I can get Tracy out of my lineup. Okay, no, I get. Listen. Let me finish. The point is I can get Tracy's 3 point. Throw my pen at my screen. I got 3 points or 15 from Tracy, where yes, you are not wrong in what you're saying, is that you basically plug in Judkins at RB 18, and that's what he's going to be every single week. But there's an appeal to that, to not have to deal with the 315, which, by the way, Tyron Tracy on the year, still 0 touches inside the 10, not a single damn touch.
He says
his last 5 games: RB 52, RB 4 when he scored 3 touchdowns against the Dolphins, RB 42, RB 26, RB 40. I wish he was RB 18. He's not. He's been Gentied.
It's fair. He
Take
says
away his 3 touchdowns. He sucks.
He says his running backs are Cook, Jacobs, Tracy, and Charbonnet.
Well, then.
So this would give him
the best player.
Yeah. I think I'd just rather keep Pickens in that spot and like pick up Singletary instead of Tracy, who's he is more valuable because they give him the ball inside. I guess when Dart comes back, he won't be, but will they make Dart wear a Guardian cap?
No, but like, I mean, if you wanted to super math this, by the way, because I started to, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even putting this in the damn column. But if you wanted to be like, hey, they're going to make Dart run less. He has the second highest design rush rate this year. Even if they dropped him to Lamar Jackson's level, which is 8.1% versus 11.1%. It's like 1 fewer rush attempt per game. So it's kind of insignificant in the whole scheme of things for us in fantasy. Maybe it knocks a point off for him per game, but it's not going to be enough. Like, unless they just tell him to stop running, period, which we know won't happen, it's not going to be that big of an effect.
See, this happened with Josh Allen a few years ago, Ian. It's like, well, he's taking too many hits. We got to get him to run less. He's not Josh Allen if he doesn't run, and Josh Allen is programmed to run. Like, that's when everything comes down to a base level and a play breaks down, Josh Allen's not throwing the ball away. He's going to run. The same thing's going to happen with Dart. When push comes to shove and they drop back and nothing's there and he's getting pressured, he's just going to take off. It's not like he's going to slide and concede a sack.
I think maybe he could, because he literally was leading, I think he probably still does, leads all quarterbacks in fantasy points from rushing. Maybe he won't be number 1 the rest of the way, but he's still going to be top 3, top 4 because of that scrambling. Just be a little bit smarter about it. And that, I think, was a big reason why Dable was fired. Like, they were down multiple scores in the 4th quarter, and this dude's just spamming quarterback power into the teeth of the defense. So I think it's a lot easier for quarterbacks to protect themselves as well when they're scrambling. You know, defenders got their backs turned. They're trying to cover wide receivers. He's able to slide and make things easier. Once you're actively making the quarterback, run into the teeth of the defense, you're really removing his chances to slide, not protecting him nearly as much. So just maybe cut the design stuff in half. But otherwise, as a scrambler and just like as a competitor, I get you. I think there's only so much you can ask Dart to change about the way he plays.
We're going to get to some more questions plus the wide receiver rankings right after this. Somewhat surprisingly, I actually take tailgating very seriously. Grill fired up, cooler packed, and yeah, I'm the guy everyone counts on for the food. Whether that's my home barbecues, birthdays, tailgating, doesn't matter what it is, Pat Mayo is always relied upon for bringing the food. That's why I go with Omaha Steaks, the official sponsor of tailgating. They've been America's original butcher for over a century, and everything they send is top-notch, perfectly aged steaks, juicy burgers, those thick, deli-style franks, all delivered directly to your door. I tossed the ribeyes on the grill last weekend, crazy tender, amazing flavor, and you can taste the quality. There's no off-season for flavor here. Make your next game day delicious with Omaha Steaks. Just head to omahasteaks.com and use promo code MAYO at checkout for $35 off your order. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code MAYO. Terms apply. See site for details. Whether you like golf, whether you like fantasy, or you just enjoy lots of money, starting the second week of January, the race for the Mayo Cup is on. Join thousands of fantasy players at fantasygolfchampionships.com for your shot at over $1 million in prizes, including the $110,000 first place prize. And this isn't like those giant contests where it goes from $110 to $20. No, everyone who finishes inside the top 250 this year wins at least 4 figures. Everyone inside the top 20 gets 5 figures. And it's simple. Takes 10 seconds a week. You pick one player per week. You can use that guy once all season long. Even if you know nothing about golf, you can still play in this and try to win the grand prize. Sign up now at fantasygolfchampionships.com or hit the description and just use the link. The race for the Mayo Cup is on. If you got questions, you need to be subbed to Mayo Media Network. When you do that, turn on the notifications while you're there. Smash the like. It'd be great. Or you can just download the podcast. Apple, Spotify, Pat Mayo Experience. Check them out. If you're looking for the list of rankings, hit the descriptions. Ian's are up there. Direct link to fantasylife.com. And you can find all of ours the rest of the week up there, too. A few questions before we move on to wide receiver. Mike asked, what do you do with Bucky Irving this week? If he doesn't play, do you just play Sean Tucker? I actually think that you have this wrong, Ian. In your rankings, you have, where is it? Sean Tucker at 25, and you have Rachaad White at 30. I think against the Rams, we're going to see a lot of Rachaad White pass blocking and pass catching versus last week when Sean Tucker went up against one of the 3 worst run defenses in football.
Yeah, I mean, it was still like, it wasn't a takeover to your point, by Sean Tucker. He just kind of made the most out of his opportunities, but they've started to trend it more towards 50-50 over these last 3 games. So I am going to give the edge to Tucker, but hey, it could happen. So that's why now the guy's in my top 24. I mean, again, we kind of see Sean Tucker put his cape on once per year, had the Saints game last year. So wouldn't necessarily, expect top 12 numbers every single game. If Bucky is back, I mean, I probably squeeze him in because like it's Bucky Irving. You want to start the guy. Probably, though, in that Swift, Woody Marks kind of RB20 range. I'm worried in the first game back that could be an issue. And also, it is the Sunday night game. So we better get definitive, like he is going to play status, because otherwise we're not going to have too many better options at that point in the week.
I honestly wouldn't use him, Jake. Even if he's back, like, I don't know. Bucky, like, I don't know what his workload is going to be, and it's one of the worst matchups you can have.
So 2 things is, I think the Tucker White situation is, we don't know. We don't know 100%. We would like to say, yeah, coming off that game, how do you turn back to Rachaad White? But to your point, Pat, when I was watching that game too, it's like Rachaad White actually out-touched Tucker in the first half of that game. It was more Rachaad White. Like Rachaad White was getting some run through the line. And I'm like, wow, this is the best White's looked in some weeks. So it wasn't like he was having a terrible day, is what Ian said. He was doing the most with his touches. And then the second half, they completely turned to Tucker. So maybe that carries over. I actually disagree with the Bucky Irving where I would completely avoid him. I'm not looking to put him inside the top 20, but we've seen this time before is like they've been able to be patient with Bucky Irving because Rachaad White's played well enough and now Tucker's playing well enough. They don't need him to be active and on the field unless he's 100% ready to go. And that's where I say that. If he is 100% out there ready to roll, and I mean as in active on game day, not like, we're going to see if he suits up this week on Friday still. Like he's ready to go, like he's off the injury report on Friday, then I would say Bucky Irving would be in the timeshare. But who's the timeshare with is what the question where I would push back with is that where maybe we just avoid all of them for a week, unfortunately, and you consider them, if you have to, as in they're all going to be boom or bust plays.
Ian, high ankle sprain for DeMercado, so I'm guessing he's out at least 4 weeks. He's out at least this game, which means we don't know about Trey Benson, but we do know that Bam Knight's going to be there. Michael Carter will get some extra run. You currently have Bam Knight at the Zonovan. I was searching for Bam, but it's Zonovan. That's probably for like the website, right? So it like links to where they need to be. That happens to me all the time. It's why Jake. That's why when we left Roto Experts, that's why I had to change how I did my rankings without nicknames, because they were like, no, they need to be linked to like the player profile page. It's like, well, that's no fun.
I know. I remember that. Like everybody had a nickname. I'm surprised you didn't pick up the one in the chat and change his name to Jackson Lawn Dart.
Well, that's because the guy said he should wear a spike on his helmet, that he could just jump into people and be a lawn dart. But Bam Knight's 29 at home against Jacksonville right now. If there's no DeMercado, how high do you think you would bump him up? Like, would he be in that like 29. Camara? I think like I'd play him over Sean. I'd play him over where you have Sean Tucker. I'd play him at like 25.
It's about right. I'm not putting him in the top 24. I think it's just going to be kind of even between him and Michael Carter. And who knows, maybe a player to be named later. And this, honestly, like you go back and look at those rush attempt numbers last week anyway, like they're fine letting Jacoby throw the freaking thing 60 times a game. So, hopefully Trey Benson is back and we can just get more of a feature workload there. But even in that case, even if Trey Benson is back this week, I'm not moving him up into the top 12 or anything like that. I think I'd probably put Trey Benson about RB 25 around, Tyron Tracy and those guys. So it's a situation where I think in Arizona right now, we can feel good about Jacoby, who is the QB4 in fantasy since he took over. Obviously, Trey McBride is breaking the sport. And then Michael Wilson, obviously one of the best wide receivers in the league, something
all time. All time. You're underselling me. He's one of the best receivers of all time. This we know. Lee says, Jacobs' replacement, not top 15. That's very good, Lee. You can read numbers in order and figure out where they are. Congratulations on that. Bill asks, I have Dart and Daniels as rostered QBs. Stream Mariota last week. Should I drop Daniels? I can ride Dart out the rest of the way, or would you grab another streamer? I feel like that's just too many quarterbacks to have on your roster.
I was just about to say the flow chart over here with Charlie Day. I would actually just I don't want to because that would
drop
be
Daniels.
Terrible to watch Daniels on another team in week 16. But
drop him.
I would drop Daniels. They're 3-8. They have to win out to be in the playoff race.
To be in the race. If they win out, they might not even be in the playoffs.
I was just about to say 9-8 in the NFC might not look at the NFC right now. I was just having a conversation with somebody last night. The Lions are right now out of the playoffs at 6-4 to give you an idea.
And it's also something where, I know it's his left elbow, so he's still capable of throwing the football. But, is he going to be able to run and actually take hits out there? I have a hard time believing after what we saw that elbow is anywhere near, actually contact ready. So I'm with you guys. If you had to go ahead and drop someone, it would be Daniels. Make sure Dart's going to play this week, though. He still is in the concussion protocol. I don't think it's a given that he is back, though.
I agree.
Replacement.
Yeah, I would just drop Daniels, pick up a streamer to replace her. For the rest of the season,
Jacoby.
Dart will be back before Daniels, regardless, even if he plays or doesn't play this week, at least in my mind. Like you said, they're not going to be rushing Daniels back coming out of the bye week with a dislocated elbow at 3-8. But Dart's probably better the rest of the year anyway if he continues to run. If not, that at least that alleviates a spot on your roster. Right now you have Mariota and Daniels. Just drop both of them, find a better streamer to use this week, and then pick up a handcuff or something for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's really the way to go because on top of it too, let's even talk about throw the other name in here, Joe Burrow. Is he really even going to come back? They're basically one game from not being in the playoff picture race anyway. So they're going to bring him back just to play games at the end of the year. No.
Wide receiver rankings for week number 12. Jake's got a hard out in about 15 minutes. So Jake, we can lean on you here to try to pick apart these rankings and see who you like this week. It's all the guys that you would want to play. Obviously, Jamar Chase. Okay, let's start it here. Is Jamar Chase potentially going to play this week if this appeal happens?
Only if it gets overturned. They've already, that's the thing.
He's never get overturned.
Yeah. They're not. The evidence is there. We've all seen the video.
Listen, I believe Jamar Chase that he said if he was actually trying to spit on him, he would have spit in his face. That logic is sound to me.
Yeah, so he just purposely spit and misfired is what you're telling me?
He was spitting at the ground. The guy got in the way.
He got in the way. What are we still doing with this anyway? But no, I think it's a very slim chance. So there's your answer. Continue.
So all the guys that you would normally see, you can see them up on the screen right now. T. Higgins comes in at number 6. There is an ankle injury designation for Nico Collins, Ian. I just saw it pop up for Thursday Night Football. I'm not concerned about that, but it's something to watch just in case.
About to say, they don't actually practice on Monday, but they do these estimated practice reports. So, and they don't even have it freaking updated on their website. Come on, NFL teams. Okay, here we go. Nico Collins. He was still listed as a limited participant. I'm not too worried about it. How about Nico Collins, though, guys? Because he was looking like one of the bigger kind of busts in fantasy after a bit. Up to wide receiver 10 now in PPR points per game. In Davis Mills, we trust. Are we starting to get some questions about CJ Stroud? I don't know, guys. Just saying.
Drake London is out this week. Garrett Wilson is out this week. My main man, Shamir Dyke. Not how you say his name, but that's how we say it on this show. He's probably not going to play with a concussion. Obviously, Calvin Ridley is out for the season. Then we have
nobody. I already know where you're going. Nobody.
No. I was just listing off. I was just listing off all the injuries.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You don't-
I
you
thought
don't-
you were
you
talking Spirit Titans.
How about you just bet this guy who I saw number 12 on the Titans, Kinsey? Bet him over half a catch or something like that. Because he'll get like 8 targets and maybe he'll catch one. But we have a whole list of Marvin Harrison, Darius Slayton, Chris Godwin, Torrey Horton, Rashad Bateman, Brian Thomas Jr., and Kayshawn the Butte Man. No idea if they're going to play or not. Any leans on whether any of those guys are going to be in?
I'm actually surprised we're still waiting on Booty. Like that feels like he should
Hamstring,
be finally
man.
back.
Hamstring.
And it's been quite a while. It's
3
been a
weeks.
while. It took for Ricky Pearsall to come back from that knee. Maybe it's similar.
Ian, every time I hear hamstring, I think 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, he's had
It's
the
been
extra,
2-3 weeks.
It's been
he's
2
got
weeks.
the extra long rest from the Thursday night game. He kind of said something before that he was hoping to be back for the Thursday night game. So I think he has a chance. And then BTJ was practicing in a limited fashion last week. So I had the 2 guys you named. I'd say Booty and BTJ best chance.
So you don't have
Has it
Marvin
really
Harrison.
only been 2, Pat? Has it really only
he-
been 2?
He left the game that he's missed the next 2 games.
Okay. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, this would be week 3. So if he did miss this week, it wouldn't be stunning, but I'd say he's probably like 50-50 to play. Is Marvin Harrison going to be back with his appendectomy?
I would lean no. I mean, it's a freaking appendectomy. I've never had one. I don't know how quickly you come back from those, but
And that was the initial report. It was like he's definitely missing this week, if not more. And I think some people interpreted that as, oh, he's going to just miss the 1 week. I think it could be multi-week as well.
Then why is Michael Wilson at 21 then and not 1?
Rookie numbers. It is. I mean, I almost had him lower, and then I just started going through it, and I was like, well, him versus DK versus Wandale versus Juwan Jennings versus Pierce. I think once Marv comes back, we'll see maybe things split up, and yeah, Michael Wilson would be more of a wide receiver 3 if Marv is going to be back in the picture. But, you know, as much as I don't want to completely freak out over 1 week, remember Kendrick Bourne going off for a couple weeks earlier in the year. I don't want to be completely out of the party as well. So I thought 21 was a better spot. Like realistically, Pat, like what would be the highest you could actually move Michael Wilson up?
I would play. So I would play. I think here's a legitimate question that you should have this week, and it's terrifying. And if you make the wrong move, you're going to feel like an absolute idiot. I would play Michael Wilson over Justin Jefferson.
I knew that's where you were going. I knew that's where we were going. It comes down. Well, because
I play him over
why.
I play him over Zay Flowers. I play him over Stefan Diggs. I play him over Jameson Williams. I play him over both the Eagles guys, even against Dallas.
Oh no, that's why, because
I don't
we're
trust those
different on
guys,
that
man.
one.
I don't trust those guys. I trust Michael Wilson to have 12 targets if Marv is out. That's what I trust.
Oh, I don't. We've done this before with Michael Wilson. We've
guy's a
played
legend. Yeah, but they have Jacoby Brissett. He knows where his bread is buttered. McBride, Wilson, boom.
We've done this before. We've done this dance, and the problem with Michael Wilson, as much as I was a Michael Wilson fan when he came out of college, there's certain wide receivers, and Michael Wilson being one of them, that just when asked to be the number one, it doesn't always work because they're not an NFL number one. And it's not like the Jaguars have an amazing defense, but they have enough that I just wouldn't be shocked if Michael Wilson comes out of this game 2 for 31. I'm not going to rank him that high. I'm happy to be wrong, and I understand. And like I said, I knew where you were going because Justin Jefferson can only catch 50% of his balls because only 50% of his balls are even in catchable range with J.J. McCarthy. My pushback for my rankings, the trio of Jameson, Devontae, and A.J. Brown would all be over Justin Jefferson at this point, and I would push Odunze behind all 3 of them.
Breaking news alert for the New England Patriots. Both Ramondre Stevenson and Kayshawn Butte, Ian, expected to practice.
All right, we'll see. I mean, Ramondre was limited last week, the first 2 days, and then all of a sudden he was a DMP on Wednesday and then ruled out. So could be back, though. Again, the fact he was practicing limited seems to be trending in the right direction. And with Booty coming back, it would just really make Kyle Williams less of a thing. I do wonder if they just start kind of more so rotating Kyle, Mack, and then Booty, and then really Stephon Diggs is the only guy that we can feel at all good about. But even with Diggs, let's face it, last week was cool and everything, but it's not like he's been consistently crushing it. So, yeah, I mean, Patriots, kind of getting that Bills, like everybody eats sort of things where, yeah, Drake May and Josh Allen are balling out, but tough to be too over our skis about, everyone else.
Someone saying they have to rely on Ricky Bullets this week. Is that guy cooked? I would probably say yes.
No, this is his first game back. But this is just going to come down to the 49ers. George Kittle is going to have a bad game. Juwan Jennings is going to have a bad game. Christian McCaffrey will have an off game. It's just what happens at this point when you have this many options. They just didn't need to force it to Pearsall in his first game back. And if you watched it too, where it's cooked, it's like it was his first game back. And if you want to say he didn't look 100%, I would actually agree with you. But he's also first game back. And now it's against the Panthers at home. They probably don't need him again. So I want to say cooked, but I still wouldn't be shocked if Pearsall has better than a 0, maybe even a touchdown.
Coaster's Corner asks you, Ian, do we panic about Drake London? My next receivers are Booty and Parker Washington. Can I trade Woody, Charbonnet, or both? I mean, you can make any trade you want. That's on you. But I don't know what you're getting for those guys that are better than Booty and Parker Washington.
Yeah, I'd be panicking if I'm starting Parker Washington as my wide receiver 1 at this point. I think that's probably a good time to be panicking. So it's just we're approaching lost season territory for the Falcons, which is hysterical because they don't even have their first round pick going into this next year. So, and honestly, again, I know it didn't work out in the Miami game because Kirk Cousins was just horrible, but that's also what we're looking at. Kirk Cousins is horrible / last season when he was under center. Through the first 14 weeks, Darnell Mooney had more receiving yards than Drake London. So I understand didn't work out for Mooney, in that Dolphins game either, but I just think this Falcons offense could be a mix of now kind of evening out the targets between the guys and just one of the worst units in the entire league. So yeah, not going well. Definitely panic.
Someone did ask Jake whether they would rather play Michael Wilson or Alec Pierce. I'd rather play Wilson, although I like both of those guys.
In this scenario, yeah, especially because Alec Pierce has the Chiefs. So
are we sweating the Chiefs that much? I mean, if Bo Nix was able to complete deep passes, like they were there for him, he just didn't hit them. It was the same the other way around. If Mahomes had just hit these guys in stride, they were open behind the defense.
Yeah, and it's still Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce, and it's been working, but sometimes it doesn't. I wasn't sweating the Chiefs to say oh my God, don't play anybody against the Chiefs. But if you're going to tell me the Chiefs versus the Jaguars and Cardinals game, I'm going to take the Chiefs as the worst defense of all of them.
So Chad makes an interesting point here about Michael Wilson. He said Michael Wilson will probably pop up on the injury report after all that usage. It was a one-game anomaly. I agree. He's probably not going to have 15 catches for 200 yards every week. But he says that he might go 5 catches for 60 yards or something like that. It's probably better than what you're getting from Jefferson right now.
No, that's actually about what Jefferson's been producing.
So if we're conceding that's kind of like the Michael Wilson floor, that seems pretty good.
Well, why did Michael Wilson have the big game? We got to ask ourselves, was it just a random fluke? No, it was Marvin Harrison Jr. and also Zay Jones being taken out of the picture. Jacoby Brissett is averaging 314 yards per start, and Trey McBride can't catch every single pass. Maybe he can. I wouldn't put it past him. But I think Michael Wilson, again, him versus Jefferson, it's hilarious that we are forced to have this conversation. I don't think it's ridiculous. I will say, I think some of McCarthy's incompletions are so horrific that it maybe causes us to skew just how bad things are for Jefferson. Going into last week, and I don't think it's changed much, like his catchable target rate with J.J. McCarthy was 64%. That's not great, but that's a similar number to what guys like Nico Collins and T. Higgins and many other big-time receivers have seen. So I do think we're almost like judging Jefferson a little bit too much and not kind of considering the bigger picture, the tree in the forest analogy or whatever that thing goes. So I think better days will be ahead for Jefferson. I don't think we're going to get the top 5 heights that we're used to seeing, but I still rest the season would expect him to be, a top 12, worst case, top 15 wide receiver.
Do you like Jacoby Myers more on Jacksonville, or is it just because BTJ is out? I mean, I probably like him more on Jacksonville because they have a quarterback who can kind of complete passes, but he's not a start if Brian Thomas is active.
I think you can still start him. I think that Jacoby Myers on Jacksonville is better than Jacoby Myers and being the number 2 on Jacksonville, being the number 2 on the Raiders, because he is clearly going to be Parker Washington is going to be left for dead when Brian Thomas comes back because they're keeping him in that slot role and Jacoby's playing outside. So that's the thing is Jacoby's going to play too wide. Parker Washington's not. So I think where do you have Jacoby Myers at 39? Honestly, that's about the range with like Dortch and Downs that I would have him with Brian Thomas Jr. I would actually have Jacoby more kind of like the Khalil Shakir range if there's no Brian Thomas.
Any decent sleepers you guys like this week? I see you have Tez Johnson at 26 over both the Green Bay guys, Ian. I'd bump Tez Johnson down a bit. I think Dobbs and Watson are both in really nice spots here, and they keep getting better every single week as the other guys get more phased out. But I was looking at Luther Burden, who played a season high in snaps. I mean, he had a horrific drop, but I like him in the spot against Pittsburgh, who I think can be taken advantage of deep if they can. I mean, Caleb's good at avoiding sacks, so we can extend some plays. You might get Burden down the field. And I wasn't surprised about it because this guy won me a ton of money like 3 years ago. But Isaiah Hodgins was the guy that Jameis was looking to down the field.
It's not just Jameis. So like I had Isaiah Hodgins inside my top 55 to 60 wide receivers, Pat, because the Giants, for whatever reason, love this guy to death. Like anytime Isaiah Hodgins is picked up from another team, immediately put him in the Giants lineup, immediately put him on some deep fantasy roster somewhere because they immediately put him out there. They ran 3 wide receivers the entire game. 3. It was Wandell, Jalen Hyatt, Isaiah Hodgins. Even if Slayton's back, Isaiah Hodgins is going to be at least a top 3 option. If there is no Slayton, I think you could put him in the conversation. But no, my deep sleeper is put some damn respect on the name of Jaden Higgins, who's no longer a rookie, Ian. There's no rookies anymore. There's no rookies for D'Amico anymore. They're all real players.
Put it this way. If Kayshon Boutte doesn't play, I'd rather play Mac Hollins.
Then who?
Than Higgins.
I mean, I'm not going to argue much against it, but it's the fact that like Higgins is clearly the 2. Mac Hollins is kind of like the 2/3.
But they want to get Cincinnati. I mean, I do like Buffalo's pass defense much better than I like their run defense. I'm not enamored.
That's fair.
With this Texans offense at all, especially on.
Can we get like 60 yards in a game for Higgins before we're completely singing his praises? He's fine, okay, but it's the Nico Collins offense since everyone else. So Tez Johnson, going back to that, has outscored Emeka Egbuka since week 6, and it's like none of you even care. So I will, give the Tasmanian Devil, this one for you, Pat, a little bit of respect there. Love the Hodgins call. Again, it goes back to that Jameis Winston, Brashad Perryman connection. You do not need to be a great NFL wide receiver to be a great fantasy one when Jameis is your quarterback. And then with Luther Burden, guys, he is someone where, I think rest of the season I would give the head nod to someone like, Alec Pierce and Christian Watson. But hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, as a rookie, he didn't break out until week 13 either. So there is going to be one of these guys that maybe gets going here in November and December. I think Luther Burden, based on what we've seen, could in fact be that guy. It's still a crowded offense. I know they're not throwing for 300 yards a game, but this dude's number 1 among rookies in yards per out run. He's top 3 with Emeka and Tedero McMillan in targets per out run. And just watching the dude, it seems like he moves at a different wavelength than others. So finally got that full-time role. I do think a big game's going to be on the horizon. Then Pittsburgh, man, we've seen it now in a situation where they run so much man coverage. Their corners aren't great. Anyway, one missed tackle, and it could be a house call.
Okay, so 2 questions for you, Jake, before you have to get out of here, and Ian and I will carry the water the rest of the time. But Dustin asks, he has Achane, Javonte Williams, and Barkley with decent wide receivers. Would you try to upgrade Barkley to an elite receiver, or would you rather just keep flexing him?
I would, but I don't know if you're going to get an elite wide receiver for Barkley at this point. But
Michael
absolutely,
Wilson?
if you can, there's no question.
Would you get Michael Wilson for him?
No, I don't think.
Look at Saquon's schedule. I don't want to get rid of him right now. You've held him this long. Cowboys, Bears, Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills. The Bills in week 17 for Saquon.
Game. I just mentioned that the other day. Same thing. But I will say, that's why. So because you're not going to get top 10 for Barkley. Honestly, right now, depending on who you talk to, especially if it's a Cowboys fan, you might get more for Javonte right now.
You might. I don't know if I love that. Although here's the sneaky thing about the Dallas defense. Now, maybe it was because it was Genty, no offensive line. I think their run defense might actually now be pretty good with the returns that they've got in the trades.
I think their defense as a whole might be better than it has been.
Their secondary sucks.
It doesn't suck like it used to. I mean, this was the freaking Bengals defense like a few weeks ago.
Well, it was, but the front 7 got so supremely upgraded with Overshown coming back and Quinn Williams getting there that it's going to make the secondary better because quarterbacks are going to have less time to throw.
Yeah, like the old Giants winning Super Bowls defenses.
Yeah, that secondary wasn't all that good. They were just able to stay with their men for 20 yards, and that was good enough.
So you said 2 questions. What's the other one?
It says, I need to win bad this week. I had a rough go with Burrow and A.J. Brown. Okay, that's not even a fucking question. I need to drop 1 to pick up Sean Tucker. Keenan Allen, Ricky Bullets, McLaurin, or Jacoby Myers.
McLaurin and Keenan Allen, both.
Keenan Allen made such a nice catch on the weekend. It was amazing. It was just
don't care. He's still only playing 50% of the routes.
Yeah, but he's playing. Do you think that McLaurin's going to be back?
No, I said both. You cannot play Keenan Allen. He's 50% with Gadsden being it. Since Gadsden broke out, he's running 50% of the routes. Actually, when Gadsden left the game last week, he bumped up to 80%. If there's no clear tell to everybody out there that Keenan Allen is not going to be a thing unless Gadsden gets hurt and leaves, there you go. You can't trust one catch that was half of his yardage. No, Keenan Allen and Terry McLaurin drop both is my point, and go pick up a flyer. Go pick up one of these running back flyers. None of these handcuffs should be on waivers at this point. Not a single damn one.
Well, Jake, you have fun at the doctor. We'll rearrange the cameras for Ian and I to do the rest of the positions and take some more questions.
Fun with my neck. Thank you.
We got Roxbury syndrome. You're out partying last night?
I can't even do that right now. That's the problem.
That's too bad. Just don't break a window on your way once you get your neck all fixed. It'll be fine. Ian and I will return with your questions and more rankings right after this. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Holidays, they're here, which means It's officially gift giving season. Nothing says, I appreciate you, quite like the gift of smoothness of your balls. Whether you're shopping for your partner, your brother, or honestly, yourself, the Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate upgrade. This thing is a full grooming arsenal. You get the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Trimmer. Super precise, very reliable, and great for keeping everything neat before those holiday parties or date nights or random people that you haven't seen in 15 years that you meet at a bar when you go home at Christmas time. You want to be trimmed, all right? Plus, the Weed Whacker 3.0 for nose, ear, and eyebrow cleanup so you're not showing up with rogue hairs trying to ruin your family photos is a must. Give the gift of smooth this holiday season with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Get 15% off your entire order with code PATMAYO at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with code PATMAYO at manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way. Now that I'm old, I've had to come to the fact that I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. I don't wake up in the morning feeling normal. And now that football season has started, that is absolutely unacceptable. I got work to do in the morning, and I got kids that are waking up. It's no good. But that isn't a problem anymore because I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. The ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol the first drink of your night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel the best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/PatMayo to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use PatMayo at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use the code PatMayo at checkout for 15% off. Tight end rankings. We're using Ian's rankings up at fantasylife.com. Hit that down in the description if you got a question. Got to be subbed in order to ask it, so do that right now. Thank you. Ian, your rankings for week number 12. McBride, Bowers, Kittle, Warren, Kelsey, Ferguson, Andrews, Goddard. Is that the line of like, yeah, of course you're playing those guys?
I think you can throw Henry in there because he just has that same sort of touchdown upside, or at least you're hoping he scores, as Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert. Austin Hooper was out last Thursday. That would help matters as well. And again, it's just this Bengals defense. They're actually okay against wide receivers. Turner's been having himself a nice year, but running backs and tight ends, like they are not only just last, but they are last by a country mile. So I do think that spot and that matchup necessitates getting Henry just a little bit up in the ranks. But, if you want to cut it at Goddard, I get that too. Juwan Johnson, top 10, though. Tyler Shuck, the old Oregon connection, looking good, Pat.
Yeah, it's not bad. Theo Johnson actually had a pretty good connection with Jameis. It didn't show up in the box score until late, but I believe he threw two. He had two pass interference penalties against, one of them being in the end zone, one of them being pretty close to the end zone. So Jameis was looking for Theo Johnson in that game. It just didn't completely come to fruition, which just happens for a lot of tight ends. Like Kyle Pitts at number 12, I just can't do it, man. That guy's terrible.
I'm willing to put more blame on Penix and Cousins, honestly. You go back to that, London game they had 2 weeks ago. Pitts was open down the sideline for a 30-yard tud. Couldn't quite get the ball. We've seen better flashes from Pitts on field this year. I know the fantasy points haven't been there, which is what we're trying to do anyway. So, yeah, not going super far out of my way for it. If you want to put Dalton Schultz ahead of Pitts, okay.
Schultz,
Otten,
I'd go
Barner.
I'd go Otten as well.
Yeah, we'll see. If Godwin comes back, that could crunch things up a little bit. Not an easy matchup against the Rams. That dude just allergic to the end zone, man. Jacoby Myers and Cade Otton, those are the two guys this year, 50-plus targets and still 0 touchdowns. So maybe he's due, but I'd still go Pitts there.
I don't know, it's not like Pitts is scoring a bunch of touchdowns.
No, that's true.
And
He's
Cousins is throwing him the ball.
When they've used Pitts like as a check down guy, it's honestly been a little bit better for him than trying to ask him to beat these safeties and corners, 30 yards downfield. So we'll see what happens. I think you're just pretty much fucked, once you get to about Kyle Pitts. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think that actually makes a ton of sense. That I think I would probably go, instead of playing Kyle Pitts, I think if Kincaid is out, which he probably is going to be on Thursday night, I just roll the dice with Knox and hope he catches it. At least I feel like the Bills might score touchdowns.
Do you think we could be getting to a Taysom Hill sort of era
No.
going on here? He does this a couple times every year. I'm not saying it's going to be this week necessarily, but that's like the thing when people are talking about Devin Neal in New Orleans and stuff. I think we're an Alvin Kamara injury or the Saints just being bad enough to say like, all right, dude, just shut it down and chill. One of these games down the stretch, Taysom Hill is going to be all of a sudden like where you get that pregame report about him being in line for a lot more carries and stuff. And once he gets that going, man, like that would be the situation where all of a sudden Taysom Hill is back in that low end tight end one conversation.
You see, I would push back on that because it doesn't make any sense to play Taysom Hill. Because if Taysom Hill is going to get carries, it's not like he's lining up as a halfback and receiving handoffs, like maybe every now and then, or they get him on a reverse or something like that. But if you have Rattler, who is now benched, and now you have Shuck, and you want to see what he is, you got to give him these snaps under center. Like, what is spelling him with a 35-year-old going to do who's not any good?
I don't know. I don't know why Kellen Moore is even doing this, but they still have been, despite, a 35-year-old coming off major knee surgery. So it did seem like Hill was starting to run a little bit like his former self, before they had their bye. Should be even more rested after that. So again, it's just a situation where it's just so bleak once we get to kind of tight end 14, 15 range that I could just see Taysom Hill finding his way up there. So perhaps a moot point. Unfortunately, we can't even get excited about Colson Loveland as much as we love to say like, oh, genie's out of the bottle now. You can't put it back in it. I guess when you got generational talent, Cole Kmet, on your team, you can just go ahead and keep your stud first round rookie on the bench.
The only other one that I could see potentially doing any damage here is, let's say Brenton Strange is activated for this game. He was in practice last week. He's been designated to return off injured reserve. They're playing against Arizona. Like Johnny Munt has been filling in because Hunter Long has been out as well. Where would he fit in there? Because I would play him over Kyle Pitts.
I was about to say tight end 12, I think could be warranted. Strange is someone who hasn't scored either, which again can be like he can't score touchdowns or he's due to score touchdowns depending on glass half full or empty. So I'd probably go a little more AJ Barner range, tight end 15, tight end 16, just to make sure Strange has that role. But no, I think if you are looking for like a low key tight end who could actually give us top 12 numbers the rest of the way, Brenton Strange fits that bill.
See some questions here. Goff or Purdy this week? I play Purdy.
I have him pretty close.
Coin flip?
Goff just at home against the Giants, man. Yeah. I feel like as a bounce back. I have Goff a little bit ahead.
That's true. Let's see. Daniels or Mahomes? Considering Daniels is hurt and not playing, I'm going to go with Mahomes.
I'm going to go with Daniels, actually. But, teach their own.
Yeah, just to mix it up a little bit. Mr. Nice Guy asks, is it just me or does Darnell Washington look like Andre the Giant on the field? Mount Washington, man.
He is so much fun to watch. God bless Arthur Smith for actually giving us that opportunity. So Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball too. But that's what I was saying, man, because earlier in the year, he was getting these like end zone fades and people were complaining. No, we do not know when Darnell Washington is going to decide to take an extra $10 million per year and play offensive tackle. Cherish every single target that we see them give that man.
The man is 7'20".
It's ridiculous. He has taken Mo Alley Cox's mantle as the biggest football player in the NFL. I don't care what the programs say.
See, I wish I know what they were trying to do with Mo Alley Cox. They were just basically trying to make him an even taller Antonio Gates. He just didn't have the football acumen to do it. But I like Darnell Washington's huge and he's like kind of fast. He's more coordinated than Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox as an athlete was immaculate. He just couldn't catch.
We've seen those, man. Jelani Woods, another one, also played for the Colts.
Yeah,
Rico Gathers, remember those preseason days? So they seldom work out, but they're a lot of fun when they do.
Quarterbacks for Week 12. We got Josh Allen at number 1, coming off 6 touchdowns. Pretty good. You're expecting a Lamar bounce back this week, are you?
I'd like to think so. Again, the schedule really lightens up here. And we've seen that Browns defense make guys like Lamar, Jordan Love, and just kind of when Myles Garrett is getting going, being the best player on the planet, they can make things rough. I will say, don't love Lamar's mobility. Kind of came back in that Dolphins game, wasn't running much. The week after that against the Vikings, I believe it was, we started to see a little bit more. I thought he had kind of had his burst back, but missed that practice last week with the knee injury. I do think Lamar is playing at less than 100% still. It's impacting his ceiling just a little bit, but still Lamar, and just even against the Jets, I think we could see him throw for 4 or 5 touchdowns.
It was nice because I was on that last week, the Lamar Jackson rushing unders of 36.5, because I saw the same thing that you did. It's like, he's just not running. Nice. And there's a bad defense to try to do it against.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, Garrett can just completely wreck pretty much any given game. I love that earlier this year when the Browns were playing the Packers, Michael Parsons literally even said, he's like, if someone wanted to say Myles Garrett is better than me, like, I can actually understand that. And then the follow-up was, well, would you say that about anyone else? And he just said, no.
Allen, Lamar, Hurts, May, Mahomes, top 5. Caleb, Dak, Daniel Jones, Goff, Stafford, that's 10. Purdy, Mayfield, Flacco, Brissett, Darnold. Was encouraging to see Mayfield start running again last week against the Bills because he had been kind of off that after he sustained the oblique injury for about 3 weeks, but he was just putting his head down. Maybe it's because at the point they're in such a weird spot. You know who they really remind me of? And I don't know if they're going to have the upside of that team, but that Cardinals Kurt Warner team that ended up going to the Super Bowl that just limp-dicked into the playoff because they won the division like 6 weeks before. Tampa Bay, I get that Carolina is right behind them, but they're not really behind them because Carolina is terrible. That like the Bucs just might make the playoffs at 8 and 9.
Oh my God. That, by the way, best ever playoff run, Larry Fitzgerald that year, freaking ridiculous. So no, I hear you, man. And that's, again, we've been saying it these last few weeks, but now is the time, everyone. We set those reminders for November 18th. It is November 18th. Pick up that Tampa Bay DST. I don't want to start them this week against the Rams, but for 1 week and 1 week only, you can keep 2 DSTs because they get the Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, and the Dolphins to close things out for the fantasy playoffs. So love that. And yeah, we could see the Buccaneers get going. Honestly, Pat, like after we got past Mahomes, I had Baker as my QB6 originally, and then as I was just kind of going through more research, I realized just this passing game, man, has not been humming the same way over these past, handful of weeks. So to your point, it was good to see Baker running again, but man, weeks 1 through 6, Baker averaging 7.9 yards per attempt. That's really good. Weeks 7 through 11, though, it's not a small sample size. 5.7 yards per attempt. Emeka Egbuka has been the wide receiver 38 over these past 5 or 6 weeks. I know he got banged up a little bit, man, but it's really been a different Buccaneers offense for the better part of the last 6 weeks now.
I would play Darnold, Brissett, and Flacco all over Baker.
Yeah, maybe I'm giving them too much respect just for almost last year in the first month of the year. So I get it.
It just to me that Flacco and Brissett are just volume merchants. Like they're going to throw the ball 50 times every game.
You take away Chase, and I do think that's going to impact Flacco a little bit there, but they might just throw the ball 20 more times than Baker. So I do get it from that standpoint.
And the Patriots have the best run D too, so they might just abandon that quickly and just pass the entire time.
Darnold would be the one that I'd say, now give me Baker, though, because we see with Darnold, he has games where he just throws the ball 11 or 12 times. I don't think Cam Ward and company are exactly going to be coaxing a shootout here on Sunday.
Sure. It's just you have to. So it's volume for Flacco and Brissett. You just have to trust the efficiency of Darnold. Like I hate the matchup for Baker. I hate how the current stats look. It's just I just don't see where at least with Darnold, he could go like 16 for 18 for 4 touchdowns in the first half. Like that's going to be better than whatever Baker does over like the next 8 quarters.
I don't know that I hate the matchup as much as you do there. I think it could turn into a potential shootout. I mean, they got a 49.5-point game total right now. That's one of the highest marks of the week. So, yeah, Jared Verse and the Rams are a good defense. I know they had Sam Darnold seeing ghosts last week, but at the same time, if this game was 35-31 Rams, I mean, I don't think that would be the most shocking thing.
I mean, yes, it is a 49.5 game total, but it's a 6.5-point favor up to 7 for the Rams. So their team total is high. The Bucs team total is not quite as high.
Yeah. So I get it. Again, Flacco, Jacoby, they've both been top 4 fantasy quarterbacks since they got under center. So I'm almost just still incredulous that has happened. You almost expect, the clock to strike midnight on their fairy tale stories here at some point. But hey, just in terms of the raw volume this week, I think you got a point there.
Why don't you have Shadur Sanders at number 1?
Dude. It's crazy how people cannot have like an honest conversation about the guy. So whatever you think about Shadur Sanders, you are correct. Good for you. But yeah, he was horrendous out there, man.
Yeah, it was at least with Gabriel. Like Gabriel sucks too. Like this isn't like hey, Gabriel's really good, but he takes his sacks at like the line of scrimmage and he doesn't turn the ball over, just randomly throwing to the other team with no one else around. Like he's bad, but he's not actively hurting you at the same time. He's just like neutrally bad.
Just when's the last time? I think Bryce Young kind of lumps in this too. I'm just kind of over believing in young quarterbacks who have that playmaker gene, but don't have a big arm and also aren't fast enough to actually run away from NFL defensive ends. And aren't big enough or tall enough to even be able to see over the line half the time as well. So again, as much as, we have the Tyler Shuck projects who aren't as good in college, I just think that again, give me the big, tall, fast guy over these quarterbacks who are cerebral and, point guards in their offenses, because that goes away in a hurry, man, at the NFL level. I do think it takes these guys several years to be able to become, just this, awesome quarterback working through progressions. Joe Burrow was like the high-end comp that people were trying to give Shedeur Sanders. Remember, Joe Burrow as a rookie before Jamar Chase there wasn't exactly lighting up scoreboards, and Joe Burrow's in the class of his own anyway. I don't want to give that, comparison any sort of credit there. So just Shedeur and Gabriel, I think they have the same just physical limitations. And when defenses don't need to account for every, blade of grass on the field, man, it can get problematic in a hurry.
Shedeur actually made those sideline passes better than Gabriel did. It looks like he had a bit of zip on his passes where Gabriel's just all kind of like flutter in short, but you can't have a guy taking 20-yard sacks. It's outrageous.
Shedeur had a very nice sort of fan in over the middle. He hasn't had first team reps. He was put into a bad position against an improving Ravens defense. I get it. But just he did all the same stuff at Colorado. Like, as much as I do think the NFL wanted to make a point to an extent with Shedeur Sanders, if he was a first round talent, guess what? They would have found a way to draft him in the first round.
I want him to be good too. Well, let's clear that up. I think the NFL and just the outrageous discourse, if he doesn't even have to be good. If they just started even if he pulled like a Tim Tebow and the Browns just started winning games because he was playing quarterback, I would be so here for this because just so many people would be mad.
Yeah, and I love Dion. I rooted for Colorado over these past 2 years when he kind of had to pick a side with all these big, games going on. That was fun and everything. And I want every quarterback to be good. The NFL is more fun when we have a lot of good quarterbacks. But just, again, the fact that he just continues to sit back and move back in the pocket, and he doesn't have the arm or the escapability to get away with it, man, I just really don't see that improving anytime soon.
Jared, you would like to ask Ian a question?
I would, yeah. Also, somebody in the chat said no reps for the ones, like for Shedeur. To hear Rex Ryan on national TV be like, it's unfathomable that he has no reps with the ones.
He started the year as the 5th string quarterback.
He's the backup quarterback.
He was the backup to the regional backup.
Anyway, whatever, man. And somebody else in the chat just talking about Jaden Daniels.
He's not coming back.
One, he's not coming back. Two, hasn't been any good. He's had one top 12 quarterback performance. He's been bang average all year, and people think he's going to come back in week 16 and be awesome. I don't get it.
I get the allure of it, Ian, but as someone who on my main league, my keeper team, he's just on my bench. I'm keeping him for next year. I hope he comes back and he's good next year, but can't be starting him. Even if let's say he came back for week 16, you want to start Jaden Daniels in that game?
That's what I was saying, man. If we're talking about maybe moving Dart down a little bit because the potential for him to not run as much, you better have that same energy for Jaden Daniels. And so I don't think he comes back because I think this is. Unlike Burrow, at least Burrow's injury is being medically cleared and he's fine. Daniels would still presumably be playing through a bunch of pain trying to do it. And if it's a lost season, man, I don't see the point in putting him out there at less than 100%. And yeah, he's not going to be running as much because he's probably going to have a JJ Watt elbow brace on.
There's that. And listen, even if Burrow comes back now, he's targeting next week as his return. He's clearly not 100% either.
Burrow? I don't know. I think he's had the proper timeline.
His proper timeline was mid-December. Now we're 3 weeks early. He's coming back to try to win games, to try to get them in the playoffs. One bad hit or they get down 28-0, you might just not see him the rest of the year.
Yeah, I guess the difference would be Burrow. Obviously, we just need him to be healthy enough to sit in the pocket and go ahead and just throw the ball to his two ballers. Now, I say that, and we saw what happened in 2023 when he was playing through that calf injury, and that was some of the worst ball of his year. So we'll see. I'm more confident in Burrow than Daniels, but what's probably the right answer? No, to both guys.
Yeah, you should have, there's other guys that you can pick up. Tyler Shuck, what a legend.
He's
defenses.
All right.
I got some defenses for you this week. It's all the obvious ones that you're going to play, Seattle, Baltimore, the Packers, the Browns, the Lions. Hell, even the Patriots are in a great spot. I would play the Saints defense over the Falcons defense this week. I think the Saints defense at 2% ownership are the best pickup defense.
I wouldn't say the best. I'm with you. I'm playing them over the Falcons. I think the Bears at 22% at home against likely Mason Rudolph. Sign me up for that one. They've been able to create a lot of takeaways. Also getting a little bit healthier at this point. Then the Chiefs, 28% owned on ESPN at home against the Colts, who are coming off a bye. But man, Daniel Jones, as much as he was doing a great job limiting sacks during the first 6 or so weeks of the year, really has been regressing before the bye. Also starting to throw some interceptions. Chiefs, are now in every single game, means pretty much needs to be their Super Bowl mode. So I would say, again, Bears, Chiefs, and one last time, pick up those Buccaneers for a stretch run.
So in my streamers under 25% owned, these are up at 4for4.com right now. The Saints, the 49ers against the Panthers on Monday Night Football, Jacksonville at Arizona, and then Vegas at home against Cleveland. Max Crosby could just have 8 sacks in this game.
He's so good. I think he's probably the third best player in the league behind, again, Parsons and Myles Garrett. But did you just not see the Bears are under 25%? Is that why they didn't make it?
I was looking on Yahoo and they were like 38%.
Okay, I was looking at ESPN. So I unfortunately don't have a Yahoo league with DSTs. So sad.
I used to use ESPN as sort of the go-to barometer for my waiver wire stuff, but they are the most. I don't understand how their ownership works. They're way off from every other type of format.
I will say, speaking of just some bench stashes here, I do have a handful of handcuffs that hopefully can get you ahead of the pack. Tyler Algier, 45% roster on Yahoo, probably not available. Tajay Spears, still one injury. Tony Pollard away from being in a good spot. Bashaw Tootin, Brian Robinson, Tank Bigsby, Blake Corum, Keaton Mitchell would just be the guys. Out of that group, though, Pat, Blake Corum and Brian Robinson, I think those are the two dudes when we're trying to find like the one injury away in a good offense, and also players who just have been playing generally pretty good this year. B-Rob and Corum. I don't know what Shanahan is doing pushing the limits on McCaffrey. Why was he still out there scoring touchdowns, up 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter? That's just playing with fire, man.
Maybe they sent him to Invincible School in the offseason or Unbreakable. He's like Bruce Willis in that movie now. They're like, hey, let's just run him into the ground. 500 touches for Christian McCaffrey. Why not? Listen, here's the thing. It's not just because of last week. I don't think that Blake Corum is all that good.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly did good against my Buckeyes over the years. So maybe I am a little bit biased, but he's been running well this year. It's just everyone's been kind of freaking out like, oh, Kyron, he's losing carries to Blake Corum. And he has been, but Kyron also has been playing a lot better. Like he actually was a very good, efficient running back in 2023. It fell off in 2024, and then you add the fumbles to it, and like you understand why this dude isn't being considered like a top 5 real life running back. But I think his yards per carry is back up to 4.7. Eye tests tell me he's looked good. Kyron's finally making plays as a receiver like he used to back when he was a Golden Domer. So I'm with you. I think Kyron is better than Blake Corum, but it's just more so a thing where Sean McVay, whether it was, Gurley, CJ Anderson, Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, like this dude has been willing to leave one running back on the field for like 90% of the snaps, more than any other coach out there. So Jarquez Hunter has a big fat 0 touches this entire season. I do think it's a situation where Kyron right now is a borderline RB1 for me because Corum's taken away 10 or 12 carries per game. I think we would actually rank Blake Corum higher than what Kyron is right now if Kyron was out of the picture.
Maybe. Although I worry about him near the goal line, and most of the work that he's had this year has come against like after the Rams have been up by a bunch, and just doesn't seem like the other team cares anymore. It's almost the same argument that Jake was making about Michael Wilson being a number 1, that eventually he's not a number 1, so a good defense is going to shut him down. Blake Corum as a number 1, the volume might be there, but he might just have empty volume. Like basically what you made the point about Quinshon Judkins, where he just has a lot of empty volume at the moment.
I hear you, man, and I'm not ranking him as the RB1 or anything, but Tyler Algier, I think, is pretty unanimously considered a better handcuff, but like, is he at this point? I don't know if Algier is like necessarily a much better talent than someone like Blake Corum. That Falcons offense is just so horrible. So, end of the day, with some of these backup running backs where we don't have the largest sample size, I think we need to lean on the volume and the offenses. Again, 49ers and Rams, 2 offenses that we like, obviously well coached, and we've seen them willing to lean on the backups. So, Brian Robinson, Blake Corum for me, still guys I want.
Bro, I would have Brian Robinson. If you had the choice between the two, it'd be Brian Robinson. It wouldn't be close.
He's good, man. He's running. So people aren't talking about it, Pat, but CMC averaging career low yards per carry behind the same line that Brian Robinson's averaging a career high mark behind. I was surprised that they weren't willing to melt the game away with Brian Robinson. He actually, because I like yards after contact. Again, we're trying to isolate running back performance independent of an offensive line and all that, which is hard to do. But the problem with the stat is, Christian McCaffrey breaks a tackle at the line of scrimmage and runs for a 70-yard touchdown. That's 70 yards after contact. And I think of yards after contact as trying to be like, is the guy dragging tacklers? Like, how often is he consistently just picking up a few yards? So I've looked at percentage of carries that gain at least 3 yards after contact. Nobody has done it more than Brian Robinson this year. So he's running great, man. It just a couple of these teams, Commanders giving away Brian Robinson, even the Panthers giving away Adam Thielen like back in August. Like, what were you guys doing?
Well, the all getting shot team had to be in San Francisco, so they had to get Brian Robinson.
Many men.
San Francisco Bullets looking good. They traded for Washington. They traded for Brian Robinson and Washington's rights to the Washington Bullets. That was a part of that deal you just didn't hear about.
You're unearthing the real news, man. I appreciate that. So, hey, 49ers, another team that could be getting healthy at the right time, at least on offense. We haven't heard anything about Brandon Ayuk. Actually, we did hear that they aren't going to be opening up his practice window, but Purdy looked good out there, man. I know Mac Jones was doing his thing as well, but Brock Purdy, even if you want to say like, oh, it's the system, oh, he has a bunch of help. Okay, well, then he's a great system quarterback, and the system is pretty awesome. He's been continuing to absolutely ball out. Number one in the Super Bowl era among all quarterbacks, with 500 or so attempts and yards per attempt and passer rating. So I would also push back against the system label. He's moved around way more in the pocket than guys like Jimmy G or Nick Mullins used to. So Purdy and company, I don't think they have the juice on defense to actually challenge the Rams and the Seahawks of the world. But, hey, God forbid, they get to line up against the Packers or the Cowboys, in the wild card round. I could see San Fran coming away with a dub.
I think San Francisco could basically score with anyone. It's like you said, can their defense hold up enough? I think defense in a random game potentially could. But if you did want to, you mentioned the Tampa Bay's defense. If you wanted to pick up the San Francisco defense for just the run to the playoffs and even week one of the playoffs, this 3-week stretch is amazing. At Cardinals, they just played at the Cardinals. Home Panthers, at Browns, home Titans. Pretty good stretch.
100%, man. That's why before Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and all these other guys got lost for the season, the 49ers were my favorite DST because we could actually go all the way through week 14 before we needed to address them. So we pivoted to the Patriots and stuff, and they were number 2, and Cardinals were number 3 going back to preseason. That one didn't work out at least. But no, I hear you, man. Just playing that matchup game certainly can help, particularly when, all right, Bryce Young did play well, but that Browns matchup, man, Gabriel, Shador, who cares? I mean, at that point, yeah, give me the Niners. We do want at some point, because I think the 3 things that led me to Tampa Bay, like we want to be a good real life defense, which unfortunately I don't think the 49ers have right now, but we also want to be in a situation where it's a good team that's like actually playing for the playoffs and not giving up on things and looking ahead to Cabo. The 49ers do have that, and then we also have the matchup. So that's why I like Tampa. I think they fit all 3 of those, but 49ers still checking 2 boxes.
The one issue that I envision with Tampa is that you always want to be facing passing attempts against, and their offense has started to sputter a little bit, that if they're playing more neutral game scripts or get behind, that teams aren't simply just going to try to pass against them, which will lead to the fantasy points. It might be a lot of running, faster games, and less opportunity for said fantasy points. But I do think that they are in a good spot.
I don't know, man, because I think when you got Vita Vea plugging up the middle like he has been for the last however many years, I think teams actually look at Tampa and want to try to pass the football. So, yeah, when you're facing Josh Allen, okay, he's going to put up points. But even Josh threw a couple picks, took a few sacks against them last week as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about Tampa.
I would rather New England, for example.
Next couple weeks, that's fine. They got their bye coming up there, and then things heat up a little bit there in the playoffs. I think over just, again, weeks 13 through 17, give me Tampa.
Okay. Ian Hartitz, you can catch him at fantasylife.com. Tell everyone about the shows you got going on YouTube, podcast form, all of that.
The Fantasy Life Show. We got my guy, Dwayne McFarland, Kendall Valenzuela, Matthew Freeman, the rest of Fantasy Life crew joining me, trying to help make you a scholar just a little bit better at fantasy football. Hopefully have some fun along the way. Otherwise, I got my rankings article also live at fantasylife.com. Very much free. And I also do a 10 things article every week looking at, 10 things I happen to find interesting. Hopefully you do too. But fun show as always, Pat. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Jake Ciely at theathletic.com. He was here. He's now at the doctor. But you can still find all of his work at theathletic.com and at AllInKid on X. There was one question, finally, before we get out of here. And I think I have the answer to it. If you had the opportunity to trade an end-of-the-bench player to stash, who would you rather stash? Would you rather stash Garrett Wilson or Mike Evans? I don't think Mike Evans is coming back, is he?
I don't know if Garrett's coming back either at this point. I almost prefer Evans, I think.
I thought he was done.
I heard let me check. ESPN usually has a good potential return date because it's the collarbone thing. And I don't know, it just heals at a certain point. 8 weeks or less, December 21st projected return. So, Garrett is eligible. When is Garrett eligible?
3 weeks from
Garrett is eligible December 14th. So it's a difference of a week. And I just feel better about, the collarbone heals like you're good to go. The knee injury and the Jets just being horrible. I don't know.
All right. Let's do that. Let's do Mike Evans. There it is. I don't think I'd want to the problem is when you stash these guys and they're coming back in week 16, realistically, are you going to play them?
Well, that's also a problem. Like, okay, Garrett Wilson with Tyrod, or God forbid he gets hurt, and we got to deal with Fields again. Like, the best version of Evans is going to be there. And we just saw Garrett re-aggravate this thing, man. When you're trying to play through a knee injury or a hip or one of these lower body issues, I have way more concern than a collarbone. Like, Mike Evans is perfectly healthy right now. They just literally need a bone, in his chest to just kind of morph that together, however that science works. So I'm less concerned about kind of the bone break for an upper body issue for a wide receiver.
I would rather just use that on a handcuff running back. Or like a Luther Burden type who just might break out for the rest of the season. If I'm just going to have someone on the end of my bench, I don't want an unhealthy player just plugged back into my lineup in the fantasy playoffs, not knowing what their status is.
Give me handcuff or Burden over both those guys for sure.
That'll do it. All right. At Hartitz on X. Again, fantasylife.com. You can follow me at the PME. My rankings will be sent directly to you if you have the free Mayo Media newsletter, which you can sub to in the description or just on Substack under Mayo Media or up at 4for4.com. Completely free on Wednesday evening. All right. Thank you all for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.